Jeremy, you and I spoke, and we've said scenes like this have become all too familiar, and also reporting of civilians being killed as they've massed to gather food over the last several months, in particular being injured, being stampeded, being shot at and killed. What are officials saying in response to these continuous headlines?
Well, listen, what's so devastating about the humanitarian situation in Gaza right now, Bianna, is not just the starvation that we are seeing, the lack of sufficient food and medical supplies and just really basic necessities entering the Gaza Strip, but it is also the violence that has taken place near these aid distribution points, with near daily occurrences now of Israeli troops opening fire on crowds of hungry Palestinians trying to make it to these aid sites. And whereas, a month and a half ago when these shootings first began, we had denials from the Israeli military, and we did an investigation at the time that showed that it was very likely the Israeli military that had opened fire. Now we are in a situation where the military really doesn't even deny that this is taking place. They quibble with the figures of deaths that are taking place. They refer to those shots that they're firing at crowds as warning shots, but they effectively acknowledge that they are, on a regular basis, opening fire on these crowds of people trying to approach these aid distribution sites. And we are now seeing how much this is leading to growing isolation for Israel on the world stage, as a number of Western countries now, led by the United Kingdom, France, Canada, Australia, but you also have a number of other countries, including Norway, Sweden, for example, also chiming in on this, saying that Israel is responsible for this humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which they say is reaching new depths. They blame this aid distribution model that is run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, but effectively stemmed from ideas from inside of Israel. And they are also talking about this, quote, inhumane killing of Palestinians trying to reach those aid distribution sites. And really the only thing that's going to change any of this at this point, it seems, Bianna, is if a ceasefire deal can indeed be reached.
Yeah, and it was last month that the Israeli military said that they would change the way it operates and add signs and fencing to avoid some of these scenes that we've seen, particularly around the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation food distribution sites. Not sure if any of that has been implemented as of yet. I do want to ask you, before we get to ceasefire talks, about a new military operation that the IDF has just embarked upon in Gaza. The first time they've actually been in Deir al-Balah. This as the ceasefire talks are ongoing. What message is this sending? Is this based on any sort of intelligence about potential hostage whereabouts, or is this Israel putting more pressure on Hamas perhaps to agree to a deal now?
Yeah, this is one of the areas of Gaza where we haven't previously seen ground operations, and today there have been numerous sightings of Israeli tanks in this area. It seems to be yet another effort by the Israelis to try and put further pressure on these negotiations to get Hamas to agree to the latest ceasefire proposal that is on the table. But there are also concerns from the families of Israeli hostages about these operations, because it's long been believed, Bianna, that one of the reasons why Israeli tanks and troops haven't rolled into this part of central Gaza was because that could be where some Israeli hostages are held, and that having Israeli troops in that area could put those hostages in danger. It was, just less than a year ago that Hamas executed 6 Israeli hostages because Israeli troops had closed in on that area and were approaching, and Hamas feared that they would be captured and chose to kill them instead. And so we've heard today from the Hostages and Missing Families Forum, which expressed concern about this latest move and called on the Israeli government to explain how this latest offensive would not put those hostages in danger.
Quickly, can you give us an update on these ceasefire hostage negotiation talks that are happening now?
Well, whereas last week a lot of the focus was on Israel, on the pressure that the United States was bringing to bear on Israel to drop its objections to withdrawing Israeli troops from a key corridor in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, that has now happened. Israel has indeed withdrawn those objections, will withdraw Israeli troops if the ceasefire proposal goes through from that Morag corridor in southern Gaza. And now I'm told that the focus is on Hamas. It has been nearly a week since the updated ceasefire ceasefire proposal was sent to Hamas by the mediators, and we are now still waiting for a response from Hamas. I'm also told by two sources familiar with the negotiations that Khalil al-Hayya, Hamas's leader outside the Gaza Strip, who has been the key negotiator for Hamas throughout this entire war, that he has said privately that he is inclined to respond positively to this latest proposal, but he is waiting for a response from Hamas's leaders in Gaza. And it is that lack of response from those leaders within the Gaza Strip that seems to be holding up a potential deal at this moment. It's not clear if that's due to a difficulty of communications or reservations on the part of those Hamas leaders inside of Gaza, but their agreement is indeed critical because they would be the ones to actually implement this on the ground. The sources that I have talked to, Bianna, have said that if those leaders do respond positively to this latest proposal, then they believe that a deal could quickly follow thereafter.